Nice little ring stuff on you.
Yeah, I've been working on it. I love it.
All right, let me check that sound.
You can see that? Like, that's how clear it is?
Yeah. Well, I can see the Nazgul. It's pretty distinctive.
Yeah, I haven't painted that yet. I think I'm going to put it away. I don't think I need it in my army. I built it, and I was like, oh, I'll build all my Lord of the Rings stuff, but now I'm starting to get 40K.
There's an echo.
I don't hear an echo.
From who?
From you two.
I don't hear anything.
I don't hear an echo either. What can I do?
All right,
what if I turn?
Yeah, lots of echo for some reason.
Is it gone?
Apparently it's Chris.
Can't be Chris.
Everyone other than me.
That means it is you if it's everyone else. Check. Are you on your head?
Yeah.
Make sure your speakers aren't broadcasting.
Hello. Check. Yeah, no, I'm on my headphones.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Weird.
What if I turn? Is there still an echo?
How about me?
How could we have an echo?
All right. Sound check again, guys. Sound check.
Okay, how's this?
Yes, as in the sound is good now? Chris, say something?
Yo. Is there an echo?
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, I don't hear an echo now. I did in a minute ago. Oh, yeah,
There's
no.
gremlins in the machine.
Still there.
Still there.
Is somebody's speakers going? Make sure your speakers aren't going.
My speaker's definitely not going. I only got one earmuff on. I would hear it.
Okay, hang on. Just let me remove this completely. Just in case.
Technology's hard.
Okay.
Well, it's like, I don't understand.
Because I don't hear it, so.
I don't hear anything. It sounds actually really good.
Okay, hang on. There is the two NDA sources are going at the same time.
Aha.
So it was Darren.
Okay, hang on.
Come on, Darren.
I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix this.
The last time I went to my office was March 12th, I think.
Me, it was earlier than that, yeah.
I'm not even allowed back until sometime in the fall. Unless I have a good reason, but I don't really have a good reason.
Yeah, like I'm allowed to go back to like pick up my monitor or I just didn't.
I'd have to fill a form to go back and pick shit up. All my books are there, but I don't really need them.
Yeah, we went digital like last 10 years, but I made a point of throwing away, like recycling all my books, like everything. So I have everything online. I kind of did the hard like reset. All paper gone.
My book are basically decor at this point. It's so that when the students come into the office, I look serious because there's books everywhere.
Okay,
yeah,
guys.
but see, I went the opposite. I wanted it to look really nice.
How's the sound now? Okay, sounds good now. It was your NDI sources, for example, for some reason were duplicating.
Okay.
Who's mine or Francois?
Both of you guys were on the same channel for some reason. Okay, we're good to go.
All right.
Good evening and welcome to CanHammer, your stop for Warhammer 40K from the Great White North. Today's show is episode 183. 84. I knew it. I was like, did I just screw up again? Jeez. Anyway, so tonight's show is going to be all about 9th edition, so the rules did drop. So basically, we know how to play, which is pretty exciting. Yeah. So we're going to go through kind of our top 5 favorite things, some of the things we don't like about it, maybe some of the things that are just kind of neat to have, and some of the rules cleanups. So with that, I'm your host, Chris, at CanHammer Chris on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Darren.
And joining us live from Quebec, we have back.
I'm back.
Mr. Knights, but on to Marines now. Or no, now you're...
I have like 7 armies. I play everything. Yeah. I have a hobby ADD.
Great. So this is basically, we haven't seen you in like months. So you're
I
still
think
alive.
last time I was on was early March. Yeah, before COVID.
It was all before COVID.
It
Yeah,
was before COVID. Yeah,
I think it was our P&P summary, which
that's right.
That's
Yep.
right.
was our
Last time we were allowed to see each other in person.
Yeah.
yeah. I actually missed that last P&P was right before too. It all started.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We were starting to hear like rumblings of things maybe like being wonky, and then like a few days after that, everything shuts down.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's
Yeah.
good. So what have you been up to in the world of 40K since?
When we lost all tournaments and all games, my drive to paint or do anything hobby related completely disappeared. So I did nothing for like 3 months, and then once Ninth appeared, my interest rekindled, and now I'm super excited to play again, and I started painting again. I just finished painting Guilliman, so I'm really excited. But yeah, for 3 months I did nothing.
Yeah, it looks really good because that's right. You're known for your iron hands, but that's not your real marine love, right?
I actually have two marine armies. I have Iron Hands and Ultramarines. They're both painted with the proper colors because I am that insane.
Well, and you probably just like I got all these extra models. Spray these ones blue. Spray these
Yeah,
ones black.
I might have bought too many like Christmas boxes or
Easy to do. Didn't you get like 4 or 5 of the starters?
three.
3. Okay.
Pre-ordered.
No, only three.
Three Indominus boxes.
Yeah.
Just for the Marines, or
Well, no, I'm now gonna have a Necron army as well.
well, of course, yeah, with 3 of them, yeah. So-
And I'm looking at those bikes in the box, and I'm thinking I really need a White Scars army.
oh, okay. So they're not even going to be blue or black.
They might be
white.
painted white, actually. Yeah.
That's funny.
Man.
I always kind of thought about that. That'd be neat to. I had a friend who kind of did this back when I first started, and he would do like. I'm always the guy that's kind of like, this is my Astra Militarum army. Here's 20,000 points of it, right? But there's a lot of people I know that do like, oh, this is my 2,000 point Salamander army, and this is my 2,000 point Raven Guard army, and he had a White Scars army as well. And it's always something that kind of interests me. Like, yeah, no, well, now you can basically do whatever you want. You can have all the cool stuff. You don't have to limit yourself to be like.
I have like 5 or 6 armies, and even I have tons of Astra Militarum, but some of them are painted Talarn, some of them are painted Cadian. That's just the fluff bunny inside of me. I want to play with the proper looking models.
Oh, okay, cool. Now, when you say Talarn, they're Cadians painted brown.
So I bought third-party heads to put on Cadian bodies, so they actually look Talarn Desert Raider-ish enough.
Oh, cool. You excited? Like what? So now that we're moving into 9th Ed, I know you've read the rules, but you don't have the points. What army are you like plunging in with?
Well, right before everything shut down, I was really excited about spending most of the ITC season playing Guard, Pure Guard. I had a Scions contingent, a Talarn contingent, and a Cadian contingent, and I was going to make them all work together, and I think I had a really exciting idea about how that was going to work, and that clearly is not going to work anymore, because I don't think going 3 battalion is the way to go anymore.
Triple battalion. You have 0 CP to start the game.
Yep. So I'm not going to do that. I don't know which army I'm going to play competitively. I'm just going to wait for points to drop and see. I have, like I said, I have like 6 or 7 armies that I can play, so I'm just going to wait and see what seems interesting.
Oh, you're not
AdMech
committing
is
early.
a thing, man. I heard AdMech is a thing. You got some of it already.
No, I'm not going. No, I'm not going to start an AdMech army. I have Scorpius Disintegrators and a Rusty 17. I'm not building more than that. I actually don't like AdMech. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Either fluff wise or look wise.
I don't like the aesthetic of it.
No.
I really liked the aesthetic of it until the new stuff dropped.
The Da Vinci stuff, yeah, I didn't like that.
That's Darren calls it Da Vinci stuff, but I actually was really love it the way it looks, and even some of the books for the Horus Heresy, I enjoy the Mechanicum stuff, but yeah, just this new Da Vinci, those horses, I was like, man, we just got rid of Rough Riders, bro. I hate these damn horses. Like, why would you make mechanical horses?
Even the Scorpius. Even the Scorpius tanks, I think they look really ugly. I was using them because they were really good for my competitive army, but they're not pretty.
Oh, that's sad. Really, they're not. They're like World War II-esque.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool.
They look like they should fly. They don't. They look like they should be open-topped. They don't.
That's a rules thing, though. That's a rules thing. That's not a model.
I just assumed that they flew. So I always treat them
Yeah, the first time I brought them to your house, you assumed that they flew.
I know, and I'm like, they don't fly?
Nope. They have a fly-like rule that's not as good,
No.
but kind of good.
Well, now that's changed too.
In what way?
Well, now you can't fall back and shoot with fly.
Oh, exactly.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, in that way, yes. But you can't fall back into a lot of things, which is
It's true.
really interesting. I actually
Yeah.
kind of like that because before, I guess we're kind of spoiling it, but the falling back had very little consequences for a lot of armies, right? Especially like you had your Shining Spear. Oh, Stratagem. Oh, they're all good
Yeah.
now. You can still do that, I guess, but
Yeah.
I think it's really good that there's now a cost to falling back.
yeah,
More
or
so.
more of a cost, yeah.
Even more so, yeah.
Because in the olden days, you just couldn't. You'd be like, we're gonna fight forever.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Darren, you been up to anything interesting?
I finally finished painting my Seer Council.
Yeah, it looks really good, man. I
And
was pretty impressed.
4 months, 4 months of work. So I guess I'm happy with it. Yeah, it was really more a 4 month experiment in hobbying, different mediums, different techniques. So I could have finished them a lot faster, obviously, but I was trying to do all sorts of different things. And then I painted the Farseer in like 2 hours. So
Yeah, characters are more enjoyable too.
yeah, and then so now my next, because now I don't want to paint any army until I see points and missions. So I'm waiting for my bust and stuff to come from Italy. It's going to be like August before it gets here. So my next project actually is to practice non-metallic metals and paint Valerian, aka Christopher Walken, completely non-metallic metal gold.
Well, good luck.
Ambitious. I like it.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like they leaked the rules. Well, people that have been following on the news is all the rules basically got leaked. I don't think that was intentional because a few days later GW then leaked them all. So that probably indicates that it was the next morning. I thought it was a day and a half.
So
But yeah,
it
anyway.
was really
last
quick.
Thursday, it was like crazy, right? I woke up and there's like all these points everywhere and all these rules and everything. And then it was like the next day, it was basically GW's like, okay, here's all the rules. Here's the rule book.
Which was a good call on their part, right? It's already out there, save face. You only lost the one day of media attention. Like, it hit a lot of people, but it probably didn't hit everybody. I was disappointed in that, like, you only really saw Space Marine points,
Yeah.
right?
I
Like,
want to see all the points.
I want to, yeah, like that's the one thing I was like, I don't care about the rules. I care more about the points because now that we knew for months, like, oh, okay, we're going to play 2,000 points. You're allowed 3 detachments. Easy peasy, right? I want to build I want to go through and make a sisters list because I heard it's going to be a much smaller army, and then maybe I only have to paint like 20 models or something to make it fully painted.
So there's loads of channels now doing games, and so they'll be fielding armies that are smaller. But apparently, according to some of the guys who get preview copies that I've been talking to, they didn't get the chapter approved books. They just got the rule book, which has no points in it. So people are now kind of reading into all these battle reports they see online to say, "Oh, does that mean this army is going down X%?" And it's a lot of speculation going on.
Apparently, it's not consistent. It's not. It's very all over the place. You can't really go by that, even if you maybe could, like 20%. I heard someone say, like, just take 1,500 points and then just play that. I don't know. I forget who it was, but they said, just play 1,500 points currently, and then you should be pretty close.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to play 2,000 until I get the points. I don't think there's any point in speculating.
Yeah. Well, I don't really plan on playing too much until I get the points. So
yeah. So just to let people know, I did talk about it quickly last time, but we are doing a launch day on July 25th at the mansion of Haynes.
This room right here.
Mansion Haynes can host a full GT in his backyard with pool. But we've got me, Chris, Francois, Jason Sparkles, Nick, and Cody coming down from God knows where. And we are all playing. The plan is to play 6 games over the day with a couple of people commenting. And we're going to try and cover 2 tables, like on one stream, but we'll flip between the 2 tables. And so that should be cool. Well, I think we're covering a huge number of armies. There's going to be various types of Marines. There's going to be Eldar. There's going to be Orcs, Custodes, Drukhari, Guard, Knights.
Wait, who's bringing Drukhari?
I'm bringing Drukhari. There's going to be Death Guard, Chaos, Grey Knights. We're covering a bunch of different armies. And so it's going to be cool. It's going to be good fun. We're just going to be streaming all day, and we'll Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
I was looking at the detachments, and I was trying to figure out if I could do a Shadow Sword army, and I think I can. I think you can still do it. I really do. And I'm just wondering, like, if everybody's just going to bring tanks, we'll see if Sparkles comes with 5 repulsors. You put me in 3 Shadow Swords against them, and
That's gonna be a quick game.
Well, all your armies are right there, so you can just change.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, what did you take? Oh, you took Morty? Oh, okay. Here's 3 Shadow Swords.
Yeah, you just run it in the super heavy detachment, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, the theory is, like, before you would take 3, and then you would get you'd basically get a battalion. But now it's looking like if everything's kind of going up in points, 3 of those is probably going to fill your game, right?
What do you think they're going
You're
to?
not gonna have much
600
left. Yeah.
points, 600 points.
Yeah, you might have to drop down to 2 of them. In which case, you lose a lot of CP.
Yeah, you don't fill that battalion. You don't fill that detachment with 2, do you? Or is it 3? Is it 3 minimum or 2?
No, you would take 2. You would take 2 of the auxiliary. You just lose the CP, right?
Yeah. So you double up. Yeah, you have to do another.
That sucks.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird.
I don't know. Do you think it's bad that we're not going to see these triple massive lists anymore? I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not bad for the game. They annoyed people, and they weren't like amazing. Like they're not counter meta.
They
Like
were like gimmick lists.
Like the only time it really worked was when CanHammer team 2 years ago, Kieran brought the 2 Shadow Sword. Like that's why I have them. Is Kieran brought them, and just the way that the meta worked is it was like 5-player teams, but like lots of teams had Magnus Morty lists, and lots of teams had the Flier lists, and there was like just a lot. It was before the rule of 3 and all that stuff, so there's a lot of just like crazy lists that list kind of trumped, but now that's gone.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal.
You did table me with that list, though.
He did table you with that list.
on the on the Super Mario table with like no terrain.
Yeah, he tabled a lot of people with that list.
Yep.
Yeah, it caught a lot of people out, and it was that was like 3-4 years ago. That was before it was really even popular. So a lot of people didn't know how to counter it, or they didn't know to expect it. But
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard because I'm thinking, like, do we go all crazy for anti-tank, or do we go infantry, right? Like do I go to counter the meta, or do I go full meta, right?
It's gonna be a fun time for the first few months because everything's gonna shake loose, and you're not gonna know which way the meta is gonna skew for a while. Especially since events are still gonna be. I mean, it's still not happening, right? I don't know when the next tournament we're gonna be able to go to is going to be, so that might be months and months still.
Well,
For us,
it's gonna be weird.
we should do this.
I think in the
as
States
an
they're doing
RTT.
events.
Do we qualify for RTT?
No, you need 8
No.
people.
8
Yeah, you
people?
need
Oh,
8.
we're gonna invite 2 more people.
I don't know if it would work. I don't want to use the same army throughout it. So
Yeah,
there's
true.
that.
I want to try different armies. I want to try like multiple armies, all with multiple lists.
So I'm going to talk about like the biggest news I think that popped out is, and I think we talked about lists
General
is
Sambo?
like, well, we'll get to that too. What do you guys think about the 10 battle points for painted armies? Like, do you think that's going to go in tournaments, or do you think that's going to be a thing of the past?
I mean, I don't think it changes anything because tournaments were already mostly enforcing a certain paint standard or penalizing people who didn't have the paint standard. And in just regular pickup game at the local game store, other than someone who you probably don't want to play against anyway, no one, if you're a new guy, no one will say, haha, I get 10 points on you because your stuff is gray, right? And if someone says that, you probably don't want to play them anyway. So I don't think it changes anything.
I think
Yeah, but
sorry.
just get rid of paint scores is what I was like. Like, do you think that because we're kind of legacy in that we do overall here. Like a lot of places, and especially in the States, are going a lot more generalship, and they're kind of removing. Like, is this the solution they found to just remove paint scoring from the event? You get your battle bonus if your army's fully painted. Doesn't matter what it looks like; it has to be fully painted. And then now we have painting awards, and we have the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is that a way to set that bar?
It's very. I think it was nice for them to codify it that we expect people to show up to our events at least painted, and you get your 10 points. I think that like 10. It sounds like from people that have been telling me games are going to about 50 to 60 points on a well contested game. And so 10 points is actually 20% of your score, which is a lot. And
That is a lot. Yeah, and we usually run at that, right? We're used to that, but
yeah. So it's hard to say. I think it's an interesting idea, Chris, though. Like, if we're like, okay, now we don't have to, like, handle all this paint rubric anymore. You get 10 points, you get 10 points, or you don't get 10 points, right? Like, that kind of simplifies that for the TO.
Yeah, you don't even have to be a 3-color minimum at your event. You just say if you show up with gray plastic, you start 10 points down, and that's going to be
every
pretty big handicap. Yeah, it's going to be a big handicap.
And if you look at ITC, which is, I'm assuming we're using the same ranking system, even though we're playing the new GW they're embracing, does this mean that, like, that 10 points means you're going to lose more games and win, loss, draw, you're screwed, right? And a lot of those games are going to be close. So I do think it's interesting. And it also made me think about it, like, you could literally go into a tournament, like, because I've done it at P&Ps where I've gone and got the 0 for painting and been like, I'm just here for rankings points to test out the CTC list. Mm-hmm. And I brought, like, my silver sprayed tank bustas because I want to just run the full unit. And I was like, okay, I'll bring these guys in. And, are they worth it? Now, you're thinking, are these guys going to get me 10 points per game? Or are they going to not? Like, am I better off just not taking them? So it was cool. It's kind of a cool decision there.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if the TO doesn't like it, and there are people out there that don't like it, and I understand why they don't like it, then that TO will just not have it in his tournament, right? Like,
yeah, but that goes without saying, right? That's like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I'm just wondering, like, for us, is this like the next step in just eliminating that overall? This is how you win.
We gotta talk about
I like
that.
it.
I like it a lot
because it removes the gradient between that. The guy that's like there literally could be a person that sat there and they painted an army in a week that looks 10 times better than your army that you painted for 6 months and spent 10 times the hours on, but it's affecting their score. And this quarantine has kind of changed the way that I've thought about scoring, because you get a break from tournaments, you get to analyze. And after the last CanHammer team, we've been really looking at scoring and what we're going to do. And I think that's kind of a start. Just get rid of it. Yeah, painting competitions are painting competitions. You can have 3 painting awards, but keep it out of the main tournament because really you're there to play.
Yeah. No, it's definitely.
But I also don't want gray plastic crap, right? I also don't want that. I don't mind playing it, but I don't want it there for, like, if you remove it altogether, people are just going to show up with plastic, right?
Right.
Yeah. I got to say that most people who come to our events anyway know that there's a paint component. And so some people will come and they'll be gray plastic and they're going for generalship, which is fine. But, if you want to win overall, you have to paint your army. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that it's in there. It's in there. And yeah, as Francois said, I just hope that some dickbag doesn't use that against some kids or something in the GW store. I definitely got some vision. I was like, some prick's gonna pull that in the GW store. That one guy.
Well, I mean, there's
maybe 2 of them in Ottawa.
Yeah, well, let's not name names. But I think, I personally like it. As someone who, for myself, I really dislike playing with unpainted models. I mean, on my side of the table, I don't care what the other guy does, but on my side of the table, I think it's important for my army, for my immersion, to be painted. If that rule makes just a few extra players consider that and put in the time and paint their armies, I think it's good. Good for the hobby.
Yeah, and you paint well and fast, so it's a different. You do. Like, your stuff looks great. It's painted really quick. So
I wonder if you can grade it. So it's 0 points, gray stuff. 5 points for bare minimum. 10 points for
No, that's.
So you're back to a painting.
Now you're getting back.
GW released a thing that was like, this is what we mean.
Yeah.
It was very clear. This is tabletop standard, and it was like, oh, that's actually pretty damn good. Like, even the one that was done with. Their name escapes me now. Contrast paints. It was like, yeah, it's still base. There was some flock on it. Like, oh yeah, it looked pretty good. So cool. I guess we can move on. So do you guys want to quickly kind of go through? Do we want to just go right to the top 5 list, or do you want to quickly go through some of the change in the rules? Or I guess we'll cover them when we go.
Yeah, we kind of cover them as we go. I just want to give a shout out to everybody watching right now. There's a lot of people watching. since we leaked the Custodes Codex early, there's a lot of people watching.
Oh my God, Custodes! Can you go a show without mentioning Custodes? Come on!
And shout out to our patrons.
We gotta bust this down.
Shout out to our patrons and YouTube followers and subscribers and our sponsors. And big shout out to Dan. He's been hooking me up with some good product recently, and hard to find board games and all those kind of cool things. So shout out to Dan at the Red Dragon.
Red Dragon, yeah, they've really made a home for us there, and I'm really appreciative of that, and it's going really well. But anyway, onto that Custodes meme. Just before we move on, it's getting so bad with your Custodes stuff that like Devin was talking about playing Custodes at like a local tournament coming up, and I'm just like I can't deal with this. I want to hear it. Like, and everybody else is kind of like, man, you can't escape this Custodes, eh, Chris? And I was like,
Devin jumped on the bandwagon. Now Yoshi's thinking of jumping on the bandwagon.
Of course, you need 20 models. Like I was thinking about, I'm like, I want to get an army done in 2 days. Custodes. And I hear they're pretty good.
Spray gold, dip in strong tone, and done.
So do we want to start? So this show is going to be top 5 things we love and top 5 things we hate.
Let's do the
About
top
the new
5
edition?
because we'll probably meander onto the other things, and we can always have honorable mentions.
Okay. So we'll start with what? Good things?
You guys like good news first or bad news first? What's your ethos?
I like bad news first.
You do? Okay.
You're not going to like my bad news.
Okay, let's do bad news first then. Top 5 dislikes. So, Chris, you go first. I didn't rank mine, by the way. I just kind of wrote them down.
Okay, so I only have one thing that I don't like in this edition, so I put it for all 5. Because I'm not joking. Like I
You
read
hate
through
it
it,
5 times as badly.
and I actually hate the coherency rules for units over 5 models.
That's my top thing. That's the one I like the most.
Oh, really? I also dislike that.
I just
I
like
love
it.
it.
It feels clunky. I was trying to place units and see it, and I was like, I can do it. You just have to use formations, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna get
You're gonna
gotcha
get used to it.
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to cut out these giant conga lines of 30 gaunts or 30 boys or whatever.
Yeah.
But
That's my game, bro. That's
I know,
what I
that's-
do.
But I think that 6+ is too low for that. I think
Could've
that should
been
have been
10.
the 11+, right? Like the blast rule thing or whatever. Like I think just because there's so many units that can be 5 to 10 and like guardsmen, and it's like it seems like
but
the,
it's
the
super
6+.
easy. You just do 2 rows of guardsmen, and you're never out of currency.
But that's not the point. Not the point is that it's easy or not easy. It's why 6+? Why such a small number? You know,
Because they want them to look like squads. Like, so when you first started playing 40K, before you started getting into this gaming of the system and playing the rules and, you know, the wrapping, taking prisoners, conga lining, all that stuff, people just put their units in little blocks across the board and had a
Because it
good
looks
time.
good.
And it looks good. And that's like the intuitive, no-thought way to play the game.
Yeah.
And so they looked at that and they said, we need to make it so that this game... you know, GW's done it in a lot of other games too, like, and a lot of skirmish games do this. They wanted to give you, like, kind of force you to play in units. Now, in a lot of skirmish games, they force you to kind of create the units by doing things like spears can fight over the front rank, so you put spearmen behind and you get double the attacks and things of that nature. But in 40K, they never really had those rules. There was no, like, everybody in the squad can see 360, so there's no advantage to clumping them or grouping them. And so they just kind of decided, instead of making it like, we're going to make a rule where if you're in 2 ranks, you get a bonus to your strength or something like that, they decided, you know what, we're just going to make a rule where you have to put them in this formation, essentially.
yeah. Like I think we're all gonna get used to it in a couple of months. You know,
Okay,
it'll
yeah.
be daunting at first, but then it'll be like second nature. But it's like, you know, the problem with it is not really the change in the number or whatever. It's the coherency check at the end of the turn that gets you, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
real.
why is that a problem for you?
That's the punishment for it. It's just you know, as a yeah. Anyway,
So this is the way that I see that phase. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want to do the 5 negatives. We'll go through your guys, but I just don't. I'm trying in general to not be as negative. You know, I like to put jabs at Darren, but I just find that negativity doesn't benefit me at all in my life. But the way that I kind of see that coherency check thing and the gotcha moments, I see a lot of people putting the unit down saying, I'm putting these down with the intent that they're in coherency, and they look reasonable, and your opponent's going to go, yep. I think as long as you have that dialogue and you keep kind of, these guys are going 2 ranks of 5, they're in coherency, 2 ranks of 5, and you're moving along, I can't see most opponents catching you.
Yeah, as long as that's true for the game in general. This game overall is a social contract, and like whenever we play, for instance, like we go by, okay, this guy, he can see that guy, right? And you say yes, and then even if you messed up and pushed him half an inch this way and he actually can't see, we just agree that he can. It's the same thing.
Well, we have a lot of we're obviously friends, so we have a lot of trust in that. Where if you told me, oh, Chris, this guy's here like this and blah blah blah, or in cover, and I'll be like, okay, just to speed it up, we do that. But it's kind of different too when it's strangers and.
Well, I guess maybe if you're at the top table at LVO, maybe. But even then, those guys, they all have this like social contract with each other. So
it's the upper middle. It's the upper middle.
Well, even then, I've never. So I can count on one hand the number of times that I've run into someone who would not be perfectly happy to go along with that kind of social contract with me at a table at a tournament. Like, it almost never happens.
Oh, me too. In it's less than 1% of games.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, that's the 1% that sticks with you because you don't have a good time.
But that's what that whole negativity thing, right? Yeah. We're human beings, or these type of creatures.
But see, let me tell you why I love that rule. Let me bring some positivity. Why I love that rule. I love that rule because seeing and I'm gonna refer back to the last game we played, or all the games we've played actually, where you go and you take your red orcs and you line them up, and then your blue orcs and you line them up, and then your purple orcs and you line them up, and then you jump the purple orcs forward, right? That's the least orky thing I can possibly imagine, and it just breaks the immersion for me. And I'm like, I understand that it's the proper way to play and it's much better, and I play like that too. But if I can play still a tight competitive game, but have my game look more immersive, that for me is a positive.
I like that. Okay, so top 5 negatives. Those are I'm just going to stick with that. I'm not going to back.
I only have one as well.
Dwell on the negatives too badly.
I only have one negative Francois. As well, because I like pretty much everything. The only thing I dislike is the reduced table size. And I know you're still allowed to play on your 6x4, but every event is going to move to the new size. And I don't like that you lose 25% of the battlefield, because I like the fact that there's room and you can maneuver and ranges matter. And now you get your 36-inch Gatling knight, stick it in the middle, and he reaches the entire table. And
so I'm going to give people...
You should like that.
So... Here, let's do a little thing. So
I like that because I play knights, yes, but I still don't think we should have done it.
So I just set up the table for Wednesday's game, and this is just my normal LVO, like a replica of LVO terrain. And this is on the smaller table, and it's the recommended 1 piece per 12 by 12 square, which is 15 pieces, and it's really packed.
So Darren's showing on stream basically a picture of just a very packed table that's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, super.
So just use your imagination for those just listening. It's just full of terrain. Like it looks pretty good actually.
Yeah, like it looks enjoyable. Actually it looks like you're actually going through like a dense city or something, like fighting through a ruined city or something. It's kind of cool. So we'll see how that plays out. Super.
Yeah, because my theory on that, which is untested at this point in time, is that the new terrain rules and the line of sight blocking and things of that nature, they're going to do what we used to use distance for. And so, because we used to use distance to stay out of range, it immediately eliminated half the units in the game that either can't close distance fast or don't have range on their guns. Right. It made them kind of obsolete, or you had to do something else with them. Whereas now it's kind of like with the terrain, you can have those more medium range units throughout the board, right? And they're not going to get nuked turn 1. But...
Well, the cynical part of me thinks that GW really wanted to sell kill team boards, and that's why they did it.
I don't think so, but yeah, I'll go with it. So, Darren, what were your hatreds of the new edition?
So I didn't hate anything, but because the assignment was to have 5, I did put 5.
I couldn't do it.
Chris and I failed for not doing the assignments.
So
not reading directions.
I'm going to eliminate my last one because I really struggle coming up with it. So since it's not really disalignment, so I have 4. So I don't hugely dislike the missions. I just hope that the GT mission pack is better.
Okay, fair enough. I like the mission.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of things, and I spouted it all last week, so I just have to go into it all. But there's just a few things about the mission that kind of irk me a little bit. But I like where they're going with it, and I love that's one of my likes is that there's going to be a universal mission format. I really like that. But just the specific BRB missions, I was not impressed with. Okay. I didn't like the engagement range thing, how it's different for second rank. It just makes it overly complicated. I know why they did that, but it just seems like overly complicated when you already defined engagement range to have it like a second kind of definition. But
yeah, I kind of looked at it. They just don't want you fighting in 3 ranks, which is great for me as an orc player, because you would have the old debate about the 25 mil, 32 mil bases. You're on 32 mils, you can only fight in 2 ranks. And I'm on 25 mils, I can fight in 3 ranks. And it's like, okay, man, like this is stupid now. And but that's fixed now. You just fight in 2 ranks, bro. Everybody fights in 2 ranks. It doesn't really matter. So it takes that base size out of it. Because let's face it, they pick the base size for a lot of units based on aesthetic and not gameplay. So
yeah. Okay, my final one was.
Well, you're on second. You only did 2.
No, that was 3. The first was coherency. Okay,
yes.
The final one is the vertical engagement range, the 5-inch engagement range. I understand why they did that, because they wanted knights and monsters to be able to hit things on the top floor, and their runes are 5 inches high. But I think there's going to be some weird interactions with that's going to require fixing at some point, because.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, it's clunky, but it's better to have it than not.
Yeah,
and that was it. So we can go on and be positive now, because I think it is almost universally quite positive.
Okay, so we'll do our. I put them in order. So we'll do our 5th favorite part about the game. 5th most important. So we basically put the things that we liked about the changes. So we'll start at number 5, Francois.
Well, I didn't really order mine, but I'll pick blast weapons, because I like that when you're shooting a battle cannon into a horde, the explosion actually does something. So I'll pick blast for my 5th.
Darren?
I'll just go from the top. I really. I'll go.
Well, you do what you want to do. Obviously,
I like the changes to the psychic phase. I think psychic phase for armies that could do it was super strong. It became super dominant, and if you didn't have much defense against it, it basically you could not beat that army, right? Because they had a whole phase of very strong things, and I guess Eldar was the poster boy at first of having really strong list of powers, and that could basically patch any gap in their army or fill rules that they don't have. And so just the little changes, like you have to cast them all at once on one guy. None of this. That also made it hard to keep track. And then also that you can't fall back and cast now, I think is huge. And I really like that. And I agree. That kind of nerfed my council, I think, which is annoying because I spent 4 months painting them. But I'm still happy with the change.
Yeah, you got to think, like, it may have it, like, see, your council's been around for a very long time, and it comes and goes. So. You never regret painting models, but it could still be a thing. Just you might have to run it slightly differently.
Yeah.
And it also depends on how the points come out. But my number 5 is coherency checks, like the coherency phase. I know Darren doesn't like that. I actually like that at the end of that it's very clear. Like, this is the time you check coherency. It's not gray. So one of the reasons that I like this so much is that I abuse coherency. You know
yes,
that,
you do.
Right? Like,
yes, you do.
But that's like the ETC player in me. I abuse the shit out of it. They're all over the place, taking models off, trying to, and this now gives a time when it's like, you got to fix that. It's done. Like, it cleans up the unimmersive stuff. And, I'm not the type of person that's like, because I abused it, I'm sad that they nerfed it. No, it makes sense, right? I thought it was stupid when I first started doing that way at the beginning of 8th with my pink horrors, and I'm glad that it's gone now.
To be honest, I thought when AOS took that kind of rule on board where you had to pick which side goes, basically, I thought that would come to 40k at some point.
I like the wording in 40k better, and I still think you can tricks it. You just can't tricks it to the point where it's like irritating. You still have to take your models away from the right spot, and you still can plan. You can split a unit if you really need to for the mission, but you have to make a hard decision at the end.
Yeah.
And it gives you a clear time when you get to make that decision, because there are so many people that like maybe aren't like, because we play a lot of little tournaments locally, and you do something like that, and people will be like, "Oh my god, like you can't break coherence." It's like, no, you can. Here's the FAQ. Here's this. That's gone now. Great. It's a phase. Everything's clear.
Yep.
It's not a phase, but it's
to piggyback on
nice.
your point, though. Overall, I think they did a good job of cleaning things up and being precise with what they mean.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, number 4-ish for you, Francois.
So I'm gonna stay on the Imperial Guard tank topic and go with the Steel Behemoth rule. I like that you're not completely shut down if you get touched by a Nurgling anymore, as a Lemon Russ, right? That you can at least shoot your sponsons into it. That just broke my brain that you could stand a Nurgling in front of a Land Raider and completely shut it down. Now at least it can do something, so I love that.
Yeah, Castellan Robots is another is a tough one, but generally that rule is good. Yeah, and making Dreadnoughts good is going to be cool.
Well, it still works for Castellan. They just have to shoot that unit.
That's what I mean. So you can't bad touch them anymore to win the game.
But you can throw
bad
chaff at
touch
them, and they'll
and then
shoot
they
the
have-
chaff, but not what you actually care about.
Yeah, so you just have to do it. It's just your units not wrapping them for 6 turns, ending the game instantly, right? Like,
Yeah.
I actually like that they fixed. So my point 4 is I like that they fixed the flyer detachments. They added more flyer slots to a lot of the other detachments, and they removed the flyer wing. So now you're not having full flyer armies like in the past. You can have more flyers, like 2, as most of them are 2, but it's kind of like now you're going to see 1 or 2 flyers, maybe 4,
And not
That's
9.
Though, but you're not going to see more than like 3 or 4.
Yeah. The flyer
Maybe
thing
even
is
2.
really oppressive. Yeah.
It was, yeah. It's
because it's just boring if you can't interact with something.
yeah. It just cleans the game. It just cleans that up. I looked at that immediately. I was like, oh, thank God they fixed that.
Yeah.
I know, me too.
So you can still bring 6 flyers, but you got to pay 4 CP, and yeah.
I don't know if that's worth it, and
No,
6
it's
might
probably
not be enough. You know, some of those 9, like the 9 flyer build was kind of extreme because it was 9, right? Like, I think it was 8 most of the time, but yeah,
7
you know what I
or
mean.
8. Yeah, yeah.
But you know, it's like even 6 flyers now. You have ground stuff, so I have stuff that I can interact with. I could theoretically wrap them, hold them in place, and not get shot by your flyers.
Yeah.
Especially because the flyers, as we mentioned earlier, got a slight boost, so they don't die as easily. They're not as survivable because they don't stack the -1s, but you know they can leave the board, so it kind of balances them out a bit. There's a few less of them. They're a bit better in some ways, less survivable.
Yeah.
Cool. That was my 4. Your 3, Francois?
Let's stay on planes because I really like that they don't crash and burn just because there's some orc boys at the bottom, right? These supersonic jets having to explode because there was infantry on the ground below them. Always, again, and this is the fluff thing for me, the immersion thing. It made no sense, and so now I like that you could just leave the board with them and come back.
Well, just justify it as they just flew away. They just flew into the sunset. They didn't blow up. They flew away.
I think
Except they would blow up.
You know, the problem is, of course, that these things that are in the midair have to have a base on the ground, right? And so I think they actually handled it relatively well by bringing back the old 7th like aircraft fly off and come on sort of thing. Hopefully they don't bring back those stupid air wing special.
They did more than that too. Like there's a bunch of little rules. Like for instance, if your aircraft is there and you want to pilot and consolidate, you don't have to go towards it unless you have fly. Right? It's like it's not there.
Yeah.
So I think that's really clever the way they cleaned that up. Yeah.
Yeah, because that makes perfect sense. It's like now you can't use your flyers to hold my conga line like tip to tip, right?
Yeah. So again, they just cleaned it up a bit, and I like that.
But if you have fly, you go hammer that plane, load up.
Yeah.
Okay, Darren, your 3.
So I actually liked the fact that they are having or trying to have unified missions. So I think that's great, and obviously, you know, we've already known all the people are on board, and so for a period of time at least, it will be kind of cool, everybody playing the same thing, and if everybody puts their efforts into it, we can keep making them better for everybody, as opposed to splintering off again. I hope that doesn't happen again, but like they put all this effort in now to get it done, so hopefully they continue to put that effort in and keep making them better rather than splitting off. But I really liked the unified missions.
And I think that's going to be like that because AOS is like that.
Yeah.
Prime example, fresh game. But so my number 3 is Darren kind of covered this earlier, but I went very specific with this, is I actually really like the rule that you can't fall back and cast psychic powers. Now, I'm sure there's like stuff that'll be able to do that in the future, or maybe, but that rule right there, it's like you can't cast when you fall back, to me is a game changer, because there's a lot of, I'm going to talk about maybe specifically a lot of the chaos armies abused the shit out of that with things like, you touch their sorcerers, they would all just fly back, cast, and it was brutal, right? Well, now that's changed. So there's definitely a tactic to, if you have, like, I don't know how extreme I want to go with my example on this, but, if you think back, so if you have that spell that really gets your opponent, now your opponent can risk it for the biscuit and touch that guy and has an impact on the army instead of just like, who cares, right? And before it was like, oh, it's about wording and blah, 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 but now it's pretty clean. So,
yeah. Although they can't just stay in combat and cast it, but...
Yeah, but then they risk dying, so
yeah, but depending on what you engage them with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get the wave of sorcerers. Things like demon princes are now maybe more valuable because they can actually fight in the combat, right? But you get a lot of people with like lots of casters, and then they would just jump away, smite, right? Now they'll stay in and smite, which is probably the same thing, but whatever. I like it. I like that. I'm running away from my life! Lightning bolt! Running away, lightning bolt! No.
Lightning bolt. Fork.
That's that.
Fork.
Yeah. Okay, so you're number 2 then, Francois?
Character protection rules. Again, on the theme of things that I think just make sense. The fact that there'd be like a unit out of line of sight in that corner of the board, and then you'd have a character in the other corner of the board, but it's slightly, like it's half an inch further away, and I can't shoot it, even though I can see it. That just, again, for me, made no sense. And now you actually have to be careful where you put that character. They still get protection, which is good. It's necessary because otherwise they would instantly die, right? They need protection. But now you have to think about how you're going to protect them and actually invest some resources. And you can't just leave your, your 3 wound Gene Stealer called character on an objective in the far back because it can't be shot. Now it can be shot. I like that.
Well, you just got to screen it. It goes back to they took away characters joining units. Well, they started that in AOS, but because it was so abusable and it was kind of gross, and they moved them out of units, but then they made them almost more protected, right? So,
yeah. Well, and now if you want to protect that guy, fine, you can, but you're going to have to dedicate the bodyguard unit to stay close.
Which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that too.
So I like that.
Yeah.
Didn't make my list, but I
didn't make my list, but I do like the character change, yeah. But there's been too
Darren.
many changes. I couldn't think of them all. Okay, my number 2.
I pretty much like everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird. Like you can kind of see we all fixate on different aspects of the game. That yeah.
My number 2 is actually I really like how the rule book is written and formatted. I like that the rule. I like normally in the old days they're like, oh, here's a rule and here's why, because in the foibles of battle you would have to look through the smoke, right? Like. So now it's just rules. Like, boom, here's the rule. There's no justification for it in fluff or why they thought it needs to be like that. It just is. And then little points at the bottom. It's like so good. And
yeah, the fluff goes at the other end of the book, guys.
Yeah. So it's like rules and points, right? So it's really good for scanning. I like that how it's formatted. I like the little kick out examples, and I really like that they've two things, that they've integrated as many FAQs into the rules as they can. You can see clearly throughout the rulebook where that has happened. But then I really like how they've codified things again without having to resort to a page of special rules. So now there's engagement range, whereas before everything was always if you're within 1 inch of this or this. Now it's just engagement range, reinforcement, strategic reserve. Here's what these things are. And so it leaves less space for, arguments and stuff like that. So I really, big kudos on how they have produced the rule book and formatting and the little points at the bottom. I really like that. Reading it with
and to build on that, I like how precise the language is. And I know some people were making fun of the overly wordy paragraphs online when they first leaked out. I actually like that because you read the paragraph and it's really hard to find a loophole or twist a rule. It's clear what it means to do. And maybe it's professional thing for me as someone who grades essays for a living. Partly, I like that the language is super precise, and you clearly read it. And at least for me, I read the rules, and immediately I feel like I know what the rules are telling me, and there's not too much gray. There's still a little bit, and there's still going to be FAQs and all that. But the rules feel much less exploitable than the 8th edition rules, probably because they're wordier.
When they first started,
there's less of intent. Like people, they intended it that way. Well, then why didn't they write it that way?
Yeah. There's actually a lot of baked-in intent in their words if you really read it carefully, without going into like saying this is my intent. So it's actually quite a lot of intent in the rules. But when they first started to leak rules, and there were these massive long paragraphs, I was like, oh, it's like really wordy. But actually I've changed my mind. I think that is actually what we needed. But it's, even though it's wordy, it's still clear, and like I guess it can't be concise and wordy at the same time. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very specific.
Well, they're not wordy. They're not wordy.
And you get the points at the bottom anyway if you don't want to read the whole paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
I can't read anyway. I'm illiterate, so it doesn't matter.
That's why you play Orcs.
Orcs is the best. So I guess on to my number 2, which feels like maybe I went a bit too specific, is one of the things that I was really, really looking for in this edition. Well, obviously, like a lot of mine are geared towards army construction, because that's 90% of how I think about this game is army lists and building. The new Supreme Command detachment, and specifically the fact that now there should be less access to characters and less ways to get like cheap spammy characters. Like, if you need that one allied character, or that one, like, you can do the one. And also we were really curious about the Magnus Morty and how they would fit in, and they still do fit in, and it seems to work pretty good.
It's an elegant solution.
Yeah, but they did that without having to like spam. You can't just be like, I'm just going to take these 5 really good characters from the Space Wolf book and just put them in, or 3 or whatever.
Love that.
I really like that. To me, the game started breaking at list design. So when I'll take anything, I don't care. But when you start allowing people to just there's no cost. I actually get 1 CP to take 5 characters. Wicked. Then you start seeing the Demon Princes, the Chaos Sorcerers, and now they're gone, right?
Or a random
you still take
Grandmaster in an Imperium army, right?
Yeah, precisely. Or 3, right? Like, whatever. But or 3,000 Suns Demon Princes. That's like, now it's like you still take them, and you still take cultists, but you're taking the cultists, right? It's like, oh, now you have 33,000 Sun models instead of whatever.
Yeah.
And I really like on the kind of second time is that depending on how you make your warlord, this Supreme Command detachment might be not worth it at all, or it might be worth it depending on who your warlord is, right?
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of really cool, and I like that it pairs up. So the new Supreme Command, for those that don't know, it like pairs up with another detachment, kind of. So you pick, and you get CP if your warlord is in this, depending on what other detachments you take. So it was really well done. Like, whoever came up with that.
Yeah. The old Supreme Command was stupid, right? Like,
it was lazy. It was garbage. Yeah, it was
and
like
there's an elite unit there somewhere, and then there's a Lord of War. It's like, what?
The elite
what is
made
this?
sense though. The
What
elite
is
made
this?
sense
For like
because
bodyguards.
most bodyguard units went to the elites somewhere in 6th or 7th edition. I think it was like 6.
No, I like that. I like that change for sure.
To me, that's a bigger deal than some of the little rules fixes, blah blah blah. Because like detachments stayed with us the whole previous edition. So now it's like you're just not fucking taking those 20 characters that you have on your shelf.
Yeah, we're going to see 3 or 4 characters per army max now, right? Like,
I think you'll still see
not characters, because characters can be elites and stuff. But HQs,
but
HQs.
You're going to see less spam. Yeah, which is always good from a guy that loves spam.
But it's fine. We can be competitive players who will exploit a rule to win, but still realize that rule is stupid and want to change. We're allowed to do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're number 1.
So we've already talked about coherency, so I'm just going to pull something else out of my ass. I really like that you gain a command point every turn. And that's because
if you're battle force.
You would often play games where someone would blow their load of stratagems in turn 1 or be out of CP by turn 2, and then it turns into a completely different game. because that entire dimension of the game, the stratagems, just ceases to exist at that point. And now you're slowly, and I like that it's only one, but you over the course of turn 3 and 4 and 5, you're still going to be able to just do that one key stratagem, even if you're out at that point.
Tanglefoot.
So I like that. Tanglefoot, yeah. Canadian Tanglefoot. Or Overwatch, because that's a strat. I like that too. Now I'm rambling, but I like that Overwatch went to a stratagem. And now, turn 5, you can have that clutch Overwatch win you the game because you gained the command point.
Yeah.
Turn before.
It's also more incentive to take a battle-forged army.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a bit more restrictive now.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Darren, your number one?
My number one is changes to CP. I think the old system was weird. All right, so, okay, I need 18 CP, so let me just take this crappy guys that I don't really want to take and a couple of the cheapest HQs I can possibly imagine of maybe some faction that's completely irrelevant to mine just so I can get 5 CP. And I really didn't like that. And it made for weird incentivized list building. And whereas now everybody gets the same amount, and if you want to do some weird shit, you got to pay for it. And but if you're doing stuff that is okay, you get your CP refunded. So the Supreme Command is a perfect example, right? If you want to bring Valdis with your GK army, but you ran out of HQ slots, now you just bring Valdis and your battalion is still free. And like that's great, right? And it'll be interesting what they do with Supreme Commanders. But I really like if it's gonna every army's gonna get one, or if it's a placeholder for the future.
As they rewrite codexes, they're gonna give you 1 or 2 per army for sure.
So yeah, it's hard to know.
Yeah,
but it's just I really like the change.
You mean the keyword?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I really like the change to how we get CP, and the 1 CP a turn is obviously really cool too. Because like last turn, you got that 1 CP. What are you gonna use it on? Like what's important? If I use it now, I can't use it there. Like that's a real strategic decision that you have to make at the time. Whereas in most games, you're out and you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I didn't reroll anything, right? So I think that's really cool. So just the whole revamp of the CP system, I really like that.
And I would say, like, on average, your games are going to be spending less CP. Like, at a tournament, the average game's going to have way less CP than they did in the previous edition.
Except for me, because I have way more CP now.
For your specific army.
Yeah.
But if you look on an average across everybody,
probably.
You know, in a game where there's people running 18 CP, right? Actually, quite a few people are running around 18 CP. Mm-hmm. That's going to be way less now.
Yeah, and now if you want to bring that second battalion or whatever, you want to bring allies, there's a cost baked in, and you go down even further rather than going up, because you were rewarded for bringing the allies. Now there's a cost. I think that makes a lot more sense.
Brigade, like now, I think like the brigade is very tasty for a lot of armies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the change to CP, which also involves...
But have we seen the new brigade force organization slot for 9th?
Yep, okay, I'll just pull it up.
I just blanked on it. I couldn't figure it out if it was the same or if it had changed.
It's on the Discord, Doctor. You can download it. So the accompanying change to detachment structure really disincentivizing a lot of souping, or like, I think I like that too.
It's basically the same as before. You need 3 elites, 3 fast. Right. 3 heavy support, 6 troops, and 3 HQs.
Most of them didn't change. Most of them didn't change, except for the dedicated transports is for infantry units now only. Yeah. And
again, a good change.
That was changed? That was changed at the end of the last edition, though, or was that only changed at Adepticon? That was changed at Adepticon.
No. That's new. Yeah. I like it. It made no sense
because of you, Chris.
Bring a dedicated transport for your basilisk, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like for a lot of like specifically my orcs, brigades are the way. I'm just gonna run 1 brigade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get everything you need. Yeah.
Well, you still have to take a smaller tax, but like the elites or something. But
yeah,
Grout Horde is still a thing.
All right, Chris, what's your number 1?
The number 1 thing that I appreciate is no Overwatch. 100%. That pissed me off. I hated it.
It's a great change. You'd waste like 20 minutes over a game to do like 3 wounds to something.
It was stupid. Yeah, it was just pointless. It was confusing on what what was able to affect Overwatch and what was not, and it had to be specific. And it was like, well, this army, their +1 does affect Overwatch, and this one it does. It was like, oh my god.
And if you still have, if you have a great Overwatching unit, like I don't know, a unit of aggressors or whatever, you can still do it. But it's going to be that one. And if you're charging 6 different units, you're not going to have to spend 20 minutes rolling dice.
Yeah, so, having it as a CP is awesome. Like a stratagem. I'm not a CP, but it was just like, yeah, I just found it so clunky, just so boring, and so like unenjoyable, and especially in the edition where you have aggressors with like how many shots, and it's like, woo. And combat already kind of sucked in the previous edition, and now it was even worse.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tau still get their Overwatch, which is one of the biggest offenders. But anyway,
well, they got to get something, I guess.
yeah.
Do Ultramarines can you still spend a CP to Overwatch and then spend more CP
with
to
3
Overwatch
units?
More units?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, you could still do the Overwatch with 3 units.
Yeah, there's your aggressors Overwatch.
I think actually Ultramarines, I think, gained a few neat things that they can still game the system in some ways through their stratagems. So I'm looking forward to testing that.
Oh, for sure. And like, it's a choice now, but I was just more concerned about how clunky the game was getting in general. How big, so many models, so many dice, and yeah, it's really nice that they fix that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I, and Darren, we never had issues getting our games done quickly, but I think it's good for the overall health of the game that they're streamlining stuff so that more people will get their games done in 2 hours and not be halfway through turn 3 after 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is not on our top 5. What do you guys think of the terrain rules?
I'll be honest, I haven't looked deeply enough at them to make up my mind.
You do need to look deeply.
I need to play them.
Yeah.
I need to play through it a couple times, I think.
They're the big change to the edition. They're the interesting change. My thing is like, I'm just not sure how it's going to unfold. Like how standard they're going to be, or like how representative they need to be, right?
Yeah.
We're going to need a bunch of tokens to put on the terrain, like in Sigmar, to figure out what does what.
Well, I think it puts a burden on the TOs to define their terrain.
Yeah, which I don't like. Like I do kind of like about Sigmar, where exactly you could do that. I roll a die for a forest; it's this type of forest. Like it was a bit cleaner, I guess. Whereas this is like ETC is just going to define it all the same, right? Like this is going to be this type of crater, like they always do in the past, and it's going to be on every table. Oh, 2 on this one, 1 on this one.
But,
but I think
it's difficult.
I have some wonky tables.
Yeah,
like I have some tables where it's like, how do we define this, right? Does every table have one of these features and one of these features? I don't know. This is where that standardized terrain thing that we're maybe working on might come in handy.
Super. Yeah, because then you make a sheet and says this terrain is this, and then you just photocopy it, 50 times and put it on every table. And then there's no arguments. There's nothing about that.
But if we step outside of our competitive mindset for a second, for people who just want to roll dice to have fun, I think it's kind of cool that you can build your table and have all these extra rules affecting your game. You can put your forest here and have it be obscuring and all that stuff. And so from the perspective of I'm in my basement, I want to roll dice with a buddy with a beer, and I have all this terrain, well, I can just decide what I'm placing where to get the effect that I want and have a fun game.
Yeah, and you could build a custom table that like helps your army win more and stuff, and like for like those narrative type battles, you could be like,
yeah. So the terrain rules were not just written for competitive players in mind, right? So
exactly,
and it was also written with GW terrain in mind. That's why it's 5-inch horizontal engagement range, right? Most of their stuff is not blocking; it's just empty gantries, and so that you got to remember the context in which it's written.
Because I have a full Mechanicus terrain table, and it looks gorgeous. I got it painted by Brent, and it's a beautiful table, but it was completely useless to play on because there was no line of sight blocking anywhere on that table. Now we can say that the gantries are obscuring, and if you're behind it, you can't be seen, right? And in your mind, you can fluff it as well. There's like smoke coming from it or whatever. Yeah. But now this beautiful table that I have is actually fun to play on because they did that. Whereas before, it looked pretty, but it was useless.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big issue.
For tournaments, I think it's still going to require people to define things, and that's fine, or maybe even change some of their terrain. But it's always changed. things have changed over the course of 8th, so we just had to adapt. Yeah,
It's exciting times though. Overall, I'm more psyched about the game now than I've been in a long time.
Well, I think this, like, as far as like a new edition from so far, what we've seen, right? Like, full disclaimer, I'm allowed to change my mind in 2 days if I want to. As far as a release of an edition, this is exactly what I hope for in a new edition. The basic mechanics are the same. All my books are still valid. And it's just cleaning everything up, rewording it, making it a little bit more competitive, which is good for the fluff players too, because balanced games are more fun and enjoyable. True. And I give it a, like, you can tell they tested it. You can tell they thought about it. It shows like thought.
And 8th was a great addition. I loved it. This is
it had a lot of major flaws though.
Yes, but now this is turning something that was good into something even better. I think. I hope.
Something that was decent. Sure. It was decent.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed the shit out of 8th, but it was very hard to keep up on stuff with the facts and rewriting. Like, let's face it, near the end, we weren't playing 8th. Yeah. We weren't playing 8th. We were playing 8.5 near the end. There was so many new rules.
There's still that little bit of that issue where you still have to carry like 7 books to play some armies, but
Yeah, now we'll see what the app has in store for us, right?
I hope the app is good.
Oh god! So the rumor is that the app is coming out on the pre-order day, which is
great.
Next week. That is the rumor.
The app is coming 10 years too late, so it better be great.
So we can beta test it for 2 weeks. We can beta test it, load test it for 2 weeks.
We can crash the servers on the 11th.
Yeah, so maybe that's a good idea. They should release it a couple of weeks before. But so that's super exciting because I was messing with Battlescribe today, and oh god, yeah.
Why?
So,
get rid of it.
Well, I still want to mess around with stuff, right? It's still easier than typing it in Word or something. So, but yeah, super excited about that.
Excel, buddy, Excel. Anyway, do you want to move on to Q&A?
Yeah. Let's do Q&A. So Q&A also, there was Q&A, but there was also, I asked people to give us their likes and dislikes just to see what the community says. I already know that George, who's on the stream right now, hates the terrain rules, so don't need to talk about that anymore. He literally had an aneurysm when he saw the terrain rules.
So you guys continue without me. I'll be back in 2 minutes, but just continue.
We'll try our best. Yeah.
You don't need me.
Okay. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Nick Blackburn, the famous Nick Blackburn, he likes top 5, no kill more, so referring to ITC format kill more.
Right.
There's actually very little killing in any of the missions or secondaries, actually.
We haven't seen the actual tournament missions yet. There might be in there.
Like just BRB missions. But if you look at the missions and those secondaries as a whole, you can actually not kill anything and still max your score, which is interesting. He likes the CP rework. He likes scoring at the beginning of the turn, although right now going first is heavily incentivized.
Yeah.
Like maybe too heavily incentivized. And I don't like the random rolling again. Or alternating deployment.
I kind of like alternating deployment. There's an element of like psyching the other guy out and trying to outmaneuver, and then also for the armies that have them, those stratagems for redeploy become really, really handy.
Sure. I mean, but most armies just always deploy the same way anyway. So
okay, fine.
Just do it, right? He likes the streamlining psychic phase, and he likes to have to keep tanking on the same model. I'm not sure what that means.
So in 8th, once you took a wound, you had to keep taking hits on the same model. Now it's if you save a wound, you still have to keep taking hits. So for example, if you have a mixed squad of Bullgrins and you take a last cannon shot and you tank it on your invuln, and then the next load of shots coming in are no AP high volume shots, you have to still take them on that invuln shield and not on the 2-up shield.
Oh, you can't swap between attacks.
You can't swap, yeah.
I missed that nuance. That's cool. He does not dislike anything, which is cool. Okay, Bear with 2 guns does like no more minus to hit stacking. He likes the nerf to fly in terms of it can't fall back and shoot. I like that too, Riptides. He likes the more objective-oriented gameplay. He likes the detachment rework, and he likes vehicle dreadnought buffs. He dislikes the moving with heavy weapons versus -1 to hit armies being free now on infantry.
Right. So
Okay.
if you have a heavy weapon squad moving and then shooting at Harlequins, those
it's still
-1s don't stack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just move as much as you want.
Great, because those guys broke, like, there's too much -1 to hit infantry.
Yeah, it's their fault. It's their fault. He dislikes the nerfed engagement range. He dislikes the combination of new engagement range, blast, and cohesion, which was too much against horde armies. And he dislikes not being able to tie up vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
You can still tie them up.
I have a feeling I know what kind of army he plays.
All right, Schreeder, who's a patron, shout out to Schreeder. He likes the CP rework. He likes character targeting changes. He likes that squad size matters. He likes cap modifiers, and he likes the terrain rules. Dislikes rules still in the books. Well, that'd be somewhere, I guess.
No, I think he means like too many rules within the data, like the data slates or whatever.
Okay.
Like, because in the past there was more like universal rules that would apply to everybody.
Yeah.
That's how I read into that.
Like what we call a Feel No Pain, actually it's 12 different names.
Yeah.
900 actually different names. Yeah.
I can't understand the second one because it's misspelled. He doesn't like that you can't wrap anymore.
You can, it's just harder.
You just have to wrap like 3 units.
2.
He's still salty about Marines.
Yeah, I'm salty about Marines too.
Black Rose likes the CP system. He likes the terrain rules. He likes fighting on second floors. He likes everyone using the same missions, and he likes squad sizes matter. He dislikes cap modifiers. He doesn't like that morale isn't as significant when it works. So I think it means that if you pass, you still pass. And only if you don't pass, then all the other stuff happens.
Well, it's more that you lose one model and then you just take tests, right? So it's...
Right. But again, it depends on what what's taking the test. Like a small squad of Space Marines might actually lose more guys from rolling a bunch of ones by being unlucky than it would have otherwise, right?
Okay.
So it's... Yeah. There's more variance to it, I guess.
All right, we're going to Swifty. Top 5 likes. Unit coherency changes to fight phase, universal missions, CP changes, and everybody's points going up. Yeah, what do you guys think about that? That most people's points are going up. The amount.
I like it.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
The model count was too high.
All right.
Like AOS was perfect at that.
They spent an entire edition reducing everyone's points every chapter approved until like we're playing with basically 20% more models than we were 3 years ago.
Yeah. He dislikes
the edition started that way, though. It started with a lot of models.
Well, they haven't fixed that because the points only went up like 10-15% on average, it looks like. That's not enough. I would have jacked the points even more, personally.
All right, he dislikes morale changes. Concerns that the game is about sitting in the middle and just standing there. Dislikes the terrain rules. They seem overly complicated. He likes that less line-of-sight blocking, maybe. And he doesn't like primaries. All right. Karis is also a patron. Thank you, Karis. He likes the terrain rules, engagement range, Overwatch, CP changes, and coherency, and the Telemon as his 5.5. And he dislikes the Tau Overwatch, that they still get to do it.
Yeah, I just like that too, man.
Yeah. Well, we all hate Tau. We just put that out there right now.
Don't you have a Tau army, Darren?
No, I sold that shit.
No, he sold it.
To you? No.
I bought it
not to me.
just to play on the channel, and I played it one time and really disliked it, so I got rid of it.
You sold it to CCBB, right?
That's right. Yeah. He dislikes the wrapping nerf. He dislikes that Primaris Marines get special treatment, and dislikes. Oh, okay. Anyway, Tio Pepe likes CP reworking, moving the action towards the middle. He likes. He likes point increases, benefits for just one detachment, one faction, and terrain. Dislikes morale, and yeah. And
a lot of people dislike morale.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Mr. Funktastic, Shaggy Boombastic likes CP, improved terrain, modifier cap, objective-based missions, and the vehicle changes. He dislikes the fly nerf. He dislikes the falling back. He thinks it's still too easy to just fall back. Well, I guess it is, but you know,
it's better than it was. Yeah.
Yeah. He dislikes the multi-charge nerf. so that you have to get to everybody that you declare.
I think I like that. Again, it's an immersion thing, but going like, okay, well, none of you can Overwatch, so I'm just going to declare everything within 12 and see where I go.
Yeah. And he thinks we could have done more to incentivize close combat. And
I do agree with that. They did hype that
fair.
up a lot. They did hype up, combat's going to be dominant. Combat's going to be dominant.
It's
I
not.
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that was literally the first thing they said on the stream.
It might be better, but it's like I get the impression it's like, well, if they're still going to fall back, you can't wrap. That immediately makes combat troops worse because now they're out in the middle of the wind, like getting shot.
Yeah. He has a question. Do you think multiple detachments is going to be pretty rare? Do you see more people just sticking mono faction?
More, yes. Not that rare.
The patrol
I don't know.
is cheap
There's,
for 2. Like it's fair.
2 CP to bring something helpful to your army. That's like, how many stratagems are you perfectly happy to spend 2 CP on?
But you are limited in what you can bring in a patrol, at least.
Yeah. Well, or even 3 for a battalion. Like if you really want to patch a hole in your army, 3 CP is worth it.
Yeah, it depends on, like, it honestly is just going to depend on the army and what you need, right?
You're still going to see it.
Yeah. All right, Chris, also a patron. He likes CP rework, modifier cap, more objective-based missions, vehicle changes. He dislikes the fly nerf, falling back is still too easy, multi-charge changes, gone wrapping. He thinks the terrain rules are shit, the morale rules are shit, and Primaris Marines are special snowflakes.
Yeah, there's a lot of themes on what people don't like. I do think, like, in the way that the Stormcast Eternals made a lot of people sick in AOS with just the 9,000, like the Stormcast Eternals book is like 4 inches thick, right?
Yeah.
We're getting that way with Primaris Marines, right? It's like, we have 15 other characters that I will never know the proper name for. Great.
I hope that they're gonna, and I say that as someone who plays Space Marines, I hope that they're gonna just like finish replacing the last few things that Primaris don't yet have, and we're getting there. Like they have pretty much everything they need now, and just move on to something else. Like just give Xenos more love. Primaris Marines have enough now.
Yeah, they just have to replace all of the little
that's the kind of the sausage is fresh because people eat it, and that's maybe makes more sense in French, but basically
Space Marines totally makes more sense in French. Say it in French. What is it in French?
La saucisse est fraîche parce qu'on en mange, et on en mange parce qu'elle est fraîche.
I should use that at work.
Yeah, so anyway, my point is Space Marines sell because they give them all the good stuff. Like there's a bit of a chicken and egg kind of thing there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think Marines. I heard at one point in time Marines back in the day would make up 50%
outsold fantasy.
Of their sales. Yeah,
it's just Marines.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I think part of the reason why they're such big sellers is they're hyping them up and giving them all this stuff all the time.
All the books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Even the novels and stuff, right? Like it's all the good ones are, except for.
And you understand that because we're human beings, so we like seeing the story through the eyes of human beings, even if they're not normal human beings like Space Marines or whatever. But yeah.
All right, last one is Faith. He likes CP rework, modifiers capped, less units being punished for moving with heavy weapons, vehicle changes. He dislikes. Seems like it's actually harder to hide now inside a ruin. It definitely is. He dislikes that Marines are still best literally at everything.
Well, we'll see.
Dislikes the multi-charge nerf. Thinks falling back is still too easy, so there's another one. And then this does not like the train rules. Doesn't think they actually do much to stop shooting domination.
Yeah, it's a shooting game for sure.
It's always been a shooting game.
There was a time when, like, maybe 3rd edition, it was a lot of more combat.
Maybe.
All right. So
I always played shooting armies though, so I'm biased.
We also
played a lot of guard back then.
Input from the Weber, the legendary Andrew Weber. He loves the new Necro models and he hates the new Marine models.
Yeah.
Oh, the new Necron models look dope. Like I'm
dope.
starting a Necron army because those models look so cool.
Yeah. And the new Marine models have a few too many skeletons on their shields and banners. Like, when did Marines go to
looks pretty chaosy.
Yeah, like when did the Catholic Church just take over the Space Marines all of a sudden? Like,
I like the bikes. The bikes look really cool.
They do. It's that's the funny part is with this Primera stuff is some of the aspects of it are super more like blockier. They look more like futuristic-ish than like the previous bikes.
Yeah.
But then you look at like some of the characters and you're like, wow, this dude has carrying an incense like timer thing.
The guy with the hourglass and the giant sword looks
with the
out
flat
of
end.
Anime like from Japan. I don't know.
He looks like a
weird.
Stormcast Eternal that they just put in.
It's true. You're right. Yeah. And the guy with the banner with a skeleton on it, that also feels very
Stormcast.
Very Stormcast.
Yeah. He literally looks like that Stormcast banner guy, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Desecrator.
Lord Relictor,
Or, Urinator.
Relictor. I think it's a Relictor, yeah.
Defecator.
Whatever. They all sound the same.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, I don't know the names of these guys anymore.
Marines is getting like that, yeah. Primaris, whatever. Yeah. So, it's a whole new world, man. It's a whole new world.
Any more questions?
No, no. The last dislike was Ron. Ron dislikes Andrew Weber. Ouch.
Yeah, we always need more Ron on the channel, right?
Yeah. And
so I guess that's
it.
Great. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks for joining us, Francois.
Log off.
Always fun.
Wednesday, first game back for a long time, and the return of the Phil to 40K.
Oh, Phil's coming back.
Phil's bringing his Necrons out of the storage and coming on Wednesday for a game.
Phil's first game of 40K in like 2.5 years. So
he's certified.
I'm going to be there on the chat and heckle Darren the whole time.
Everybody's welcome to come heckle me. None of us know what we're doing. We're just going to be rolling some dice for the first time in a long time. So it should be fun. Wednesday.
And have a good one.
All right. Good night.